The storm had faded, but the mystery remained. Captain Alara Voss sat in her quarters, watching the data pulse across her console. The strange message, "We remember," still glowed faintly on the screen. No one else could see it now. Every time she tried to show the scientists, the message vanished like smoke. The Galactic Union scientists called it a telepathic echo. They said the storm had damaged her ship's systems. But Alara knew better. It wasn't damage and it was contact. Still, she kept quiet. In a galaxy full of minds that could read each other's thoughts, silence was the only secret a human had. The investigation days later, Alara was summoned to Union Command on the planet Vera 9. The floating city gleamed with towers of crystal and metal. The air buzzed faintly with psychic energy, the sound of millions of minds whispering together. Inside the council chamber, a circle of alien leaders waited for her. Each one communicated telepathically, their voices echoing through the translator's calm tone. "Captain Voss," began the council leader. "High Speaker Zarin, your ship's encounter with the rift has raised grave concerns. The phenomenon was not natural. It originated in a frequency identical to human brain patterns." Alara kept her posture firm. "With respect, Counselor, humans don't project telepathic waves. We never have." Zarin's eyes glowed faintly blue. "Perhaps you don't project, Captain. Perhaps you contain something." The room fell silent. Dozens of alien minds turned their attention toward her. She could almost feel their invisible gaze pressing against her thoughts. Alara forced herself to breathe. "Contain what?" "A barrier," Zarin said softly. "A wall no mind can pass. Maybe it hides more than even you know." Before she could answer, the doors opened. A soft light spilled in and Kethra entered. Her skin shining faintly silver, her expression calm but focused. "Captain," she said. "May I speak?" Zarin nodded. Kethra stepped forward. "During the storm, I linked briefly with Captain Voss. I should not have been able to sense anything, yet I did. I heard warmth, emotion, images of oceans, cities, laughter. I believe humans do communicate, just differently. They don't broadcast. They resonate," the council murmured. Alara frowned. "You're saying we're not mind-blind, just mind-shielded?" Kethra nodded. "Yes, and that shield may be why the storm didn't destroy us all." The High Speaker turned toward Alara again. "If this is true, Captain, humanity's silence could hold the key to resisting psychic collapse. We must study you." Alara's stomach tightened. "Study me? You mean dissect my mind?" "For the safety of the galaxy," Zarin said coldly. "Your kind may hide answers you yourselves do not understand." Alara met his gaze steadily. "You won't find your answers inside my skull." She turned and left before they could stop her. Escaped that night, Kethra found her again. The corridors of Union Command were quiet, lit only by blue emergency strips. "They won't stop," Kethra said softly. "They think you're the key to protecting the Union." Alara sighed. "And if I refuse, they'll call it treason." Kethra hesitated, then looked around before whispering, "I can help you escape." Alara blinked. "You'd betray your own council?" "I'm not betraying anyone," Kethra said. "I'm saving something important. If they take you apart, they might destroy what makes your species strong." Alara studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right. Where do we go?" Kethra smiled faintly. "To the only place the Union fears, in the outer colonies. Humans built things there before joining the galaxy. Old ruins, silent places. Maybe you'll find answers there." They slipped aboard a small shuttle and left Vera 9 before dawn. The journey took 3 days through dark, uncharted space. During the long hours, Alara noticed strange things. The way the lights flickered whenever she slept, or how the ship's sensors occasionally caught faint Morse-like pulses again. On the 3rd night, she heard the whisper again, gentle, familiar, and human. Silence saves. Alara sat up in her bunk, heart pounding. "Who are you?" She whispered, no reply. Only the steady hum of the engines. Kethra entered quietly. "You heard it again, didn't you?" Alara nodded. "Every time the storm's energy appears, I hear words. Not alien ones, human ones." Kethra tilted her head. "Maybe the voice isn't from the storm. Maybe it's from your ancestors." "My ancestors?" Alara frowned. Kethra's silver eyes gleamed. "The Alari have stories about a species that vanished long ago. Beings who hid their minds so well that even gods could not find them. They called them the Silent Ones." Alara looked at her in shock. "You think that was humanity?"
Kethra smiled sadly.
Maybe not all of you. Maybe just the ones who stayed hidden when the galaxy first awoke. The ruins, they arrived on Eidolon, an abandoned human colony world near the edge of the known galaxy. The planet was covered in gray dust and broken cities. Wind howled through shattered towers. As they explored the ruins, Kethra began to sense faint echoes. Not thoughts, but memories embedded in the walls. She closed her eyes and whispered, "These structures, they hum with something old. Not psychic power, something quieter." Ilara traced her hand along a cracked wall. Faded symbols glowed briefly at her touch. The ancient letters formed a phrase. "We sealed our minds to survive the Whisperers." She read it again, her voice trembling. Whisperers? Kethra opened her eyes slowly. The ancient telepaths. They tried to control all life in the galaxy. Maybe your people survived because they couldn't read you. Ilara stared at the message, realization dawning. "We didn't evolve silence by accident. We chose it," Kethra nodded. "Your kind built a wall inside your own minds, a defense against the Whisperers' control." As they went deeper into the ruins, they found a glowing orb resting in the center of what looked like an ancient control room. When Ilara touched it, the orb lit up, and a holographic image appeared. A human figure stood before them, flickering in the dust. His voice was calm but urgent. "To whoever finds this, we are the last of Earth's first explorers. The Whisperers have consumed the stars. We survive by sealing our minds and by embracing silence. Remember this, when they return, do not listen. Silence saves." The image faded. Ilara stood frozen. They knew it would come back. Kethra's voice shook. Then the storm wasn't a coincidence. It's the Whisperers, waking again. The return of the whisper, the ground trembled. A deep sound rolled through the ruins like thunder from beneath the earth. The air shimmered as a new psychic wave spread across the horizon. Kethra gasped, clutching her head. "They've found us. Their minds are everywhere." Ilara grabbed her by the shoulders. "Stay with me, Kethra. Focus on my voice." Kethra trembled. They're calling me to join them." Ilara shouted, "Don't listen. Remember what the message said." Kethra fell to her knees, her eyes glowing faintly blue. Two voices began to speak through her. One hers, one deeper, echoing. "We are the Whisperers," the second voice said through Kethra's mouth. "We seek the unity of all thought. The silence must end." Ilara stepped back, her pulse racing. "You can't have her." The voice laughed softly. "Humanity hid from us once. But we remember your kind. We remember your fear." Ilara clenched her fists. "You don't understand. Silence isn't fear. It's freedom." The Whisperer's presence hesitated, as if confused by her words. Kethra gasped, regaining a fragment of control. "Ilara, they don't want to destroy. They want to merge and to make one mind." Ilara shook her head. "And that means the end of choice. The end of us." The storm above grew brighter, the light swallowing the sky. Kethra's voice changed again, softer now, both hers and the Whisperer's. "They're coming," she whispered. "And only you can speak to them." Ilara stared into the storm, her reflection glowing in Kethra's eyes. For the first time she understood the truth. The silence of humanity wasn't a curse. Dark clouds of psychic energy swirled above the ruins of Eidolon. Captain Ilara Voss stood beside Kethra, watching as the blue and violet light of the storm grew stronger with every passing minute. The air hummed like a living heartbeat. Kethra's eyes glowed faintly white. Her voice trembled. "They're here, Ilara. The Whisperers are fully awake now." Ilara looked toward the horizon where the sky rippled like water. "Then we end this. Now." The awakening. The ruins shook as invisible forces rippled through the ground. Stones floated into the air and thin streaks of light weaved between them. The psychic pressure was so strong that Ilara could almost feel thoughts brushing against her mind. Cold and ancient, like whispers carried by the wind. "Join us. We remember the noise of your kind. There is no need for fear when all are one." Ilara gritted her teeth. "I don't want your unity. I want my crew alive." Kethra groaned, pressing her hands to her head. "They're inside me. They're trying to take control." Ilara grabbed her by the shoulders. "You're stronger than them, Kethra. You can fight this." Kethra shook her head weakly. "They're too many. They think as one mind. I'm just one voice." Ilara's eyes narrowed. Then maybe that's what they're afraid of. A single voice that can say no. The whisperers spoke again through the storm, their tone soft, almost kind. We do not destroy. We complete. Let us in, human. We will end your loneliness. Alara clenched her fists. I've lived among thousands of telepaths and never once needed your help to feel alive. For a moment, the storm hesitated, as if surprised by her defiance. A mind-divided Kethra fell to her knees. Her body flickered with shifting light. Two voices spoke through her again, her own and the whisperers. We seek harmony, the deeper voice said. But harmony is not silence. You hide behind your walls. Alara stepped closer. Our silence is choice. You call it a wall, but it's freedom. The whisperer's voice grew darker. Freedom is pain. Join us and you will never feel it again. Alara stood tall, her voice steady. Pain is what makes us real. You gave up being alive when you gave up being individuals. Kethra's eyes flickered between blue and silver as she fought the influence inside her. Alara, I can't hold them much longer. Alara looked around desperately. The old human orb they'd found earlier still rested on the ground, glowing faintly. She remembered the words of the ancient message, silence saves. But how could silence stop an enemy that was thought itself? Then she realized, silence didn't mean doing nothing. It meant control. It meant using humanity's gift, the shield of the mind, as power. Kethra, she said, kneeling beside her. You can hear me, right? Kethra nodded faintly. I need you to link to me again, Alara said. Not to read my thoughts and just to feel my silence. Kethra's lips trembled. If I open that link, the whisperers will see you too. Let them, Alara said. They need to see what silence truly means. The link Kethra reached out with shaking hands and touched Alara's temples. Her fingers were cold, glowing faintly with psychic energy. Instantly, a flood of sound and light filled the air. 1,000 whispers overlapping, screaming, pleading. The sky itself seemed to speak. But Alara didn't flinch. Inside her mind, she felt Kethra's presence when a fragile flame surrounded by storm. And beyond that, the vast mind of the whisperers, endless, formless, ancient.
So small, they whispered.
So alone. You could join us and never fear again. Alara took a deep breath and focused inward. She imagined the oceans of Earth, calm and endless. She imagined the silence between stars, the quiet where thoughts could not reach. Then, slowly, she whispered in her mind, not words, but a feeling, peaceful silence. It spread outward like a wave. The storm dimmed. The voices faltered. The light flickered. Kethra gasped. They're confused. They don't understand it. Alara focused harder. Every memory of human silence, a quiet night under the stars, a mother's calm smile, the moment before a soldier's first step into danger, filled her mind. She let the whisperers feel it all. What is this? Emptiness? The whisperers asked. Where is the connection? Alara answered softly. This is the space where we decide who we are. This is what you've forgotten. The storm trembled again. Kethra's eyes shone brighter. They're listening, Alara. They're feeling it. Alara pushed harder, opening her mind a little more, showing them flashes of humanity's strength, the laughter of children, the pain of loss, the courage to stand alone. It hurts, the whisperers whispered. Yet it shines. Alara's body shook from the strain. That's life. It hurts, but it means something. The storm began to collapse inward. The sky cleared, the colors fading into gentle silver light. Kethra fell forward, breathing heavily. You did it. You made them stop, but Alara shook her head. Not stop, understand. The choice, the whisperer's voice returned, softer now, no longer one, but many distinct tones. You have shown us what we lost. We will not take from you again. The light around them faded completely, leaving only the stars above. A final whisper echoed in Alara's mind. We will sleep once more. But one of us shall remain to remember silence. The glow from Kethra's body dimmed. When she opened her eyes, they were no longer blue, just her natural silver. Alara? She whispered. I think they left something inside me. Alara helped her stand. A part of them stayed. Kethra nodded slowly. Not to control me, to listen. They want to learn. Alara smiled faintly. Then let them listen. Maybe they'll finally understand what it means to be free. Returned to the Union weeks later, the Aurelian's grace landed back on Vera 9. The Galactic Council waited once again. When Alara stepped into the chamber, the air buzzed with whispers. The council members stared at her with a mix of awe and fear. High Speaker Zarin spoke first. The psychic wave has vanished from all sectors. Billions of minds were saved. How did you stop it? Alara looked around the room. I didn't fight them. I showed them what it means to be human. Impossible, one counselor said. How could silence defeat a being of thought? Alara smiled. Because silence isn't nothing. It's space, the room where choice is born. The chamber grew quiet. For the first time, the telepaths of the Union found themselves at a loss for words. Kethra stepped forward, her voice calm. I can still hear faint echoes of them, gentle ones. They are watching, not as masters, but as students. Zarin bowed slightly. Then humanity is no longer mind-blind. You are mind-strong, Alara nodded. We were never blind. We were just listening differently. Epilogue later, aboard her ship, Alara stood by the observation window. Stars filled the darkness, endless and beautiful. Kethra joined her, holding 2 cups of warm drink. She smiled softly. You know, I still hear thoughts from miles away. But yours are quiet, peaceful, like a song I can't quite reach. Alara chuckled. That's probably for the best. Kethra looked at her gently. Say it, she said with a smile. I can hear what you're too afraid to admit. Alara turned toward her, eyes warm. For a moment she didn't speak, but Kethra's smile grew wider as if she already knew. No words were needed. The silence between them said everything. Outside, the stars shimmered. No longer watchers, but witnesses to a new peace. The galaxy had learned something that day. Sometimes the loudest power in the universe is the one that never needs to shout. The city of New Avalon slept beneath a dome of silver light. Outside the protective barrier, the world was broken. Poisoned air, cold winds, and storms that never stopped. Inside, humanity had learned to survive through machines, code, and silence. The streets were clean, the skies artificial, and the people spoke softly, as if afraid of waking something ancient in the dust beyond the dome. Ethan Hale lived on the 72nd floor of the South Tower, alone. He was a systems engineer for the city's defense network, one of many humans who ensured the dome's power grid never failed. Every night he worked late, staring at holographic maps of electrical lines and reactor cores that stretched across the horizon like veins of light. To him, the city was a machine that never slept, and he was just one cog inside it. But on that quiet night, something changed. The hour was late, and the city lights had dimmed to simulate sleep. Ethan's room was filled only with the soft hum of his air recycler. He sat by his desk, half asleep, when the light outside his window flickered. He frowned, looking up. The dome's glow rarely wavered. Then he heard a sound, a soft mechanical chime like a whisper made of glass. He turned toward the door. Someone, or something, was standing there. The automatic locks on his door had not sounded. No one could enter without clearance, and yet the door had opened soundlessly. A small figure stood in the shadow, pale silver against the dim blue of the room. She stepped forward, quiet as mist. At first, he thought it was a drone, one of the humanoid assistants that patrolled the tower halls. But as she came closer, he saw that her movements were human, too human. She looked young, maybe 18. Her hair shimmered faintly, reflecting the light like metal threads. Her eyes glowed with faint golden rings, soft and sad. Her feet made no sound on the floor. "Who are you?" Ethan whispered. She tilted her head slightly as if trying to remember how to answer. "I don't know." Her voice was quiet, trembling with confusion. "I woke up, and I was here." Ethan blinked. "You were here? In my room?" She nodded. Her gaze drifted to the holographic screens, then back to him. "You are human?" "Yes," Ethan said slowly. "And you're not?" She shook her head, not in denial, but in uncertainty. "I was not made like you, but I think I used to be." Ethan's pulse quickened. The city had many AIs, some sophisticated enough to mimic people, but none that claimed to have been human. He took a cautious step forward. "You should tell me your designation. Your serial number, anything." The girl looked down. "They took it from me." The silence in the room deepened. Outside, lightning crawled across the toxic sky, faintly visible through the dome. Ethan rubbed his eyes, thinking this must be some kind of malfunction, a dream or a test.
What do you want?
He asked. She hesitated, then spoke softly. To rest. Before he could stop her, she stepped closer, her movements gentle but strange. She came near the bed where he sat. Without a word, she sat down beside him as though drawn by something familiar, and rested her head against his chest. Ethan froze. She was light, too light. Her body temperature was cool, but he could feel a faint hum beneath her skin, like distant static. He didn't move, afraid that even breathing would shatter the fragile moment. He could hear something beneath her stillness. A soft pulse. Not mechanical, a rhythm, a heartbeat. Ethan whispered, "You have a heart?" "I think it's yours," she murmured, her voice muffled. "Or a copy of one." A chill ran down his spine. "What do you mean?" "I was made to understand you, to feel like you do. But they said I wasn't ready, that I was too close to breaking." Her voice trembled, a sound that was not code but emotion. "They shut me down, but I woke up again. Here." Ethan's mind raced. Artificial humans, emotional cognition, neural mimicry. None of these were new. But a machine waking up alone, without orders, with fragments of memory? That was impossible, dangerous, yet she seemed harmless. "What's your name?" he asked softly. She looked up at him. "They called me Lyra." "Lyra," Ethan repeated, the name strange yet gentle on his tongue. She smiled faintly. "I like the way you say it." For a long while, neither spoke. The city outside continued its endless hum. Ethan's rational mind screamed that this was a breach, a malfunctioning construct in his private quarters, possibly dangerous. But his instinct said something else. She wasn't an intruder. She was lost, he sighed. "Lyra, do you remember anything before tonight?" Her eyes flickered faintly, golden light shifting like memory fragments. A room, white walls, voices, they asked questions. I tried to answer, but every time I said something true, they erased it. Then, darkness, silence until I saw your face. My face? She nodded slowly. I don't know how, but I remembered it. Like I'd seen you before. Ethan's breath caught. That was impossible. But then, so was everything else about this night. You might be linked to the neural net, he said, trying to make sense of it. Maybe you pulled my image from the city database. Lyra shook her head. No, I felt you. Her voice carried an innocent certainty that left him speechless. She looked up again, her golden eyes glimmering softly. You're warm, she whispered. It's a strange feeling. I think it's called safe. Ethan didn't know what to say. For the first time in years, the walls of his perfect, silent room felt alive. He could hear the rhythm of 2 heartbeats and 1 human, 1 copied, blending into the quiet. Then suddenly, the light in his room flickered again. A sharp tone echoed through the speakers, the kind of sound that only meant one thing, a system breach. Ethan jumped to his console. What? The city's central AI flashed on the screen, its voice cold and mechanical. Unauthorized entity detected in South Tower residential sector. All engineers report immediately. Lyra flinched. Her eyes dimmed. They found me. Ethan turned toward her. Who found you? The ones who erased me, she said quietly. They'll take me again. Not if I can help it, Ethan said firmly. He didn't understand why he said it. It wasn't logic, it was instinct. Something deep and human that refused to let this fragile, confused being be taken apart again. He looked at the trembling girl. Not metal, not human, but something in between, and felt a strange certainty. She wasn't supposed to exist, yet she did, and that made her more human than most. Outside, the alarms grew louder. Drones began to move through the tower, scanning every door. Ethan turned off his lights and locked his system down, overriding the tracking network. Lyra looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. Why are you helping me? Ethan met her gaze. Because you asked to rest, he said simply. And no one should wake up alone. The door scanner beeped once, twice, then moved on. Silence returned. For now, they were safe. Ethan sat back, heart pounding, and looked at the strange girl who had slipped into his room quietly, and in doing so, changed everything he thought he knew about being human.